The red emergency lights flashed across the bridge of the UES Sentinel, casting strange shadows on Captain James Walker's tired face. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the massive display screen that covered the front wall of the bridge. 3 different alert messages blinked for his attention, each one worse than the last. Another distress signal, "Captain," called out Lieutenant Tom Reed from his station. The young tactical officer's fingers moved quickly across his control panel. The Blue Star Empire has just declared war on both the Crystal Collective and the Iron Ring. Their battle fleets are already moving. Walker didn't respond immediately. After 20 years in space, he had learned that the hardest moments required the clearest thinking. The Sentinel was humanity's most advanced warship, but it was just one ship. Even with all its technology, it couldn't fight 3 alien empires at once. "AI, show me the tactical display," Walker ordered. The ship's AI responded instantly, replacing the warning messages with a 3-dimensional map of this sector of the galaxy. Hundreds of red dots appeared, representing the warships of all 3 empires moving toward each other. "Captain." Araya's calm voice filled the bridge. "At current speeds, the 3 fleets will meet in the Omega sector in approximately 48 hours. Total ships involved will exceed 3,000. Projected casualties: catastrophic." Mary Stone, the ship's chief engineer, stepped onto the bridge. Her usual cheerful face was serious. "The engine upgrades are ready, Captain. Whatever we're going to do, the Sentinel can handle it." Walker nodded slowly. The Sentinel was supposed to be on a routine patrol of the outer territories when the crisis started. Now they were the only human military vessel anywhere near the developing conflict. The nearest reinforcements were 2 weeks away at best speed. "Show me the Empire's diplomatic messages," Walker commanded. The screen split into 3 parts, each showing the angry faces of the different alien leaders. The Blue Star Emperor, a tall being with crystal-like skin, spoke of betrayal. The Crystal Collective's council chair raged about stolen technology. The Iron Ring's war leader demanded revenge for an attack that supposedly happened yesterday. "Something's not right," Walker muttered. He had met all 3 of these leaders at diplomatic functions. They were proud, yes, but not stupid. They all knew that a 3-way war would devastate their civilizations. Yet here they were, ready to destroy everything over claims that had appeared out of nowhere. "Lieutenant Reed, scan all frequencies. I want to know if anyone else is in this sector." Walker's gut told him they were missing something important. These empires had been at peace for over a century. Wars don't just start for no reason, especially not between 3 powers at exactly the same time. "Sir," Reed's voice was sharp with surprise, "I'm picking up some kind of signal. I've never seen anything like it. The pattern is incredible." Walker walked to Reed's station and looked at the readings. Strange waves of energy pulsed through space, almost too fast to track. They seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once, touching all 3 empires' communication systems. "AI, analyze these signals. What are we looking at?" The AI was quiet for a moment, its processing cores humming as it studied the data. "Captain, these energy patterns show signs of quantum manipulation. Someone or something is intercepting and altering all diplomatic communications between the empires." Walker's eyes narrowed as he looked back at the tactical display. 3 massive fleets were moving toward each other, each believing they had been betrayed by the others. And here was the Sentinel, one human ship, watching it all unfold. "Well," he said quietly, "looks like we've got work to do. Sound battle stations, whatever's causing this mess, we're going to find it. The galaxy's not going to tear itself apart on our watch." The alarm began to sound throughout the ship, and Walker saw his crew snap into action. They were scared. Anyone would be. But they were ready. Sometimes the most important stands in history had to be made by whoever was there to make them. The UES Sentinel might be just one ship, but today it was humanity's ship, and humanity had a habit of doing the impossible. Lieutenant Tom Reed hadn't slept in 20 hours, but he couldn't stop staring at his screen. Something about these signals wasn't making sense. The young tactical officer had seen every kind of communication pattern known to humanity and their alien allies, but this was different. The waves seemed to dance across his display, moving in ways that shouldn't be possible. "AI," he called out to the ship's AI. "Can you show me the original diplomatic messages again?" Before they reached their destinations, the screen split into several windows, showing dozens of diplomatic transmissions. Reed leaned forward, his tired eyes suddenly wide. "There. Did you see that?" "Affirmative," AI responded. "The quantum variance in the signal changes exactly 0.03 seconds before each message is received." Captain Walker walked onto the bridge, a cup of coffee in his hand. He noticed Reed's excitement immediately. "Found something, Lieutenant." Reed nodded quickly, his fingers flying across the controls. "Captain, look at these diplomatic messages. When the Blue Star Empire sent their trade agreement to the Crystal Collective last week, it was perfectly normal. But by the time it reached them, keywords had been changed. Where they offered peace, the message showed threats. Where they suggested cooperation, the message showed aggression." Walker set down his coffee and moved closer to the screen. "Show me more." The displays filled with more examples. Messages from all three empires had been subtly altered, each change designed to cause maximum anger and suspicion. Trade agreements became threats. Peaceful greetings became insults. Offers of friendship became declarations of war. "This is incredible," Mary Stone said as she joined them at the tactical station. The chief engineer's eyes were fixed on the energy patterns. The technology needed to intercept and alter quantum-sealed messages would have to be far beyond anything we've ever seen. Even the oldest empires can't do this. "But who would have this kind of technology?" Walker asked, his voice thoughtful. "And more importantly, why use it to start a war?" AI's holographic avatar appeared near them, its blue light casting a soft glow. "Captain, I've analyzed all known technological capabilities of every spacefaring race in our database. None of them possess this level of quantum manipulation ability." Reed suddenly sat up straighter. "Wait a minute. AI, can you track where these altered signals are coming from?" The eye was quiet for a moment, its processing cores working at full speed. A new map appeared on the main screen, showing the paths of hundreds of communications. They all intersected at a single point in space. "There," Reed pointed. "Every manipulated message passes through that exact spot. But there's nothing there on our charts." Walker studied the location. It was an empty space, far from any known civilization's territory. "Mary, what do our long-range scans show?" The chief engineer checked her instruments, then frowned. "That's odd. The space isn't actually empty. There's something there, but our sensors can't get a clear reading. It's like the object is both there and not there at the same time." "Quantum uncertainty on a massive scale," Araya added. "The technology creating these false signals appears to be housed in a structure that exists in a quantum superposition." Walker's expression hardened. They had found their culprit, but this discovery only raised more questions. Who would build something like this? How long had it been manipulating communications between species? And most importantly, how could one human ship possibly stop technology that seemed to break the laws of physics themselves? "Plot a course to those coordinates," Walker ordered. "Whatever's out there, it's trying to start the biggest war in galactic history, and we're going to find out why." The UES Sentinel's engines hummed to life as it turned toward the mysterious coordinates. The crew knew they were heading toward something incredibly dangerous, but they also knew they were the only ones who could stop this crisis. Whatever waited for them in that empty section of space, they would face it together. As the ship accelerated to full speed, Reed couldn't help but smile. Trust humans to chase after something that shouldn't exist, just because it needed to be done. Maybe that's why they were going to win this fight. Because nobody else would even try. The UES Sentinel dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the mysterious coordinates. What the crew saw made them all fall silent. Against the black of space floated something impossible. A massive station that seemed to flicker in and out of existence, like a light bulb about to die. "Araya, what are we looking at?" Captain Walker asked, his eyes fixed on the strange sight. "Structure appears to be approximately 15 kilometers in length," the AI reported. "Architecture matches no known designs in my database. Age estimate based on material decay. Over 1 million years old." Mary Stone's instruments were giving her readings that made no sense. "Captain, that station, it's not just flickering. It's existing in multiple places at once. The quantum field around it is like nothing I've ever seen." The station was built in a spiral shape, with strange crystalline towers that stretched out into space. Energy pulses moved through these towers in complex patterns, each pulse corresponding to another diplomatic message being corrupted. "Defensive capabilities?" Walker asked. Lieutenant Reed checked his tactical display and whistled. "Massive, sir. The energy readings are off the charts. If those towers are weapons, they could destroy us with a single shot. And the quantum state of the station means our weapons might not even hit it." Walker nodded slowly. The Sentinel was humanity's most advanced warship, but this station was built by beings who had mastered physics humans barely understood. A direct fight would be suicide. "Sir," Reed's voice was urgent, "we're being scanned. The station's defenses are activating." The crystalline towers began to glow with a pale blue light. Energy readings spiked across all sensors. The Sentinel's warning system screamed as targeting locks appeared from multiple directions at once. "Evasive maneuvers," Walker ordered. The ship's engines roared as they dodged the first shot. A beam of pure quantum energy that passed through the space they had occupied moments before. Where the beam traveled, space itself seemed to ripple and distort. Mary Stone was working frantically at her station. "Captain, I'm picking up something interesting. The station's power core. It's not just advanced, it's ancient. The technology is incredible, but it's also rigid, predictable. Like it's following a program that hasn't changed in a million years." Walker gripped his chair as another blast rocked the ship. "Explain." "It's like finding a computer from 100 years ago. Advanced for its time, but it can only do what it was programmed to do. It can't adapt. It can't learn. It just follows its original instructions over and over." Araya's avatar flickered as the AI processed this information. "Confirmed. Station's behavior shows no signs of true intelligence. It is an automated system, following protocols established by its creators." Another blast hit the Sentinel's shields, making the whole ship shudder. But Walker was smiling now. "So we're not fighting against some advanced alien race. We're fighting against their computer program. Their very old, very predictable computer program." "Sir," Reed called out, 3 more quantum beams charging. "Get us behind that asteroid field," Walker ordered. As the ship moved to safety, he turned to his crew. "Mary, Araya, I want you to analyze every bit of data we have on this station. Look for patterns, look for limits. Everything has a weakness, even million-year-old technology." The Sentinel sensors continued to scan as they stayed hidden. The station's attacks had stopped for now, but they could all see it was still working, still sending out its corrupted messages, still pushing 3 modern empires toward war. "Sir," Mary said slowly, "I think I found something. The quantum field around the station. It's perfect, too perfect. It's maintaining quantum superposition on a massive scale, keeping the whole structure slightly out of phase with normal space. That's why our weapons can't hit it. But that kind of precision." Walker leaned forward. "Yes, that kind of precision means it can't handle uncertainty. If we could introduce enough quantum chaos into its field." She looked up, her eyes bright with possibility. "Captain, I have an idea. But you're going to think it's crazy." Walker looked at the ancient station, still flickering against the stars. "Lieutenant Reed, what's the status of those Empire fleets?" 24 hours until they reach firing range of each other. Sir. Then crazy is exactly what we need. Tell me your idea, Mary. Chief Engineer Mary Stone paced the Sentinel's briefing room, her hands moving as she explained her plan. The room's holographic display showed a rotating image of the ancient station, still flickering in its impossible quantum state. The station's quantum field is perfect, she said, pointing to the display. And that's exactly why we can break it. Nothing in the universe is supposed to be perfect. Captain Walker leaned forward in his chair. Behind him, the main screen showed the 3 Empire fleets getting closer by the hour. Explain it simply, Mary. She nodded, taking a deep breath. You know Schrödinger's cat. The old physics thing about a cat being alive and dead at the same time until you look at it. The station is like that, Lieutenant Reed said, understanding beginning to show on his face. It exists in multiple states at once. That's why our weapons can't hit it. Exactly. Mary pointed at Reed. But it's doing it on a massive scale, something that should be impossible. The only way it works is through absolute perfect control. No uncertainty, no randomness, no chaos. Aria's avatar appeared, joining the discussion. The station's quantum field must be maintained with precise calculations. Any deviation would cause a cascade failure. Walker watched the station's image rotate. So how do we create that deviation? Mary smiled. We give it an impossible problem. A quantum paradox, something that can't exist in any state, perfect or not. She walked to the main console and brought up a new display. The station works by intercepting quantum communications and changing them. But what if we send it a message that's already paradoxical? A quantum signal that contradicts itself. Like what? Walker asked. Like a message saying this message doesn't exist, Reed suggested, getting excited. Or a quantum state that observes itself. Better, Mary said. We send it a message that proves it doesn't exist. If the station tries to process that, its perfect quantum field would try to resolve an unresolvable paradox. Aria finished. The calculations would never end. The field would collapse. Walker stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the distant station. Can we do it? Do we have the technology to create this kind of paradox? Mary's smile got bigger. That's the beautiful part, Captain. We don't need advanced technology. We just need to understand the concept. The station will do all the hard work trying to process it, like making a supercomputer crash by asking it to divide by 0. Sir, Reed called from his station. The Empire fleets are 18 hours from contact. If we're going to do this, we need to move soon. Walker turned back to his crew. What do you need, Mary? Aria's help to compose the quantum message. Some modifications to our communication array. And, she hesitated, we'll need to get close to the station. Really close. Close enough that when its quantum field collapses, we might get caught in the aftermath. The room went quiet. They all knew what that meant. If the station's quantum field collapsed with the Sentinel nearby, the energy release could tear their ship apart. Walker looked at each of them. Here they were, a human crew trying to outsmart technology a million years ahead of them, using simple logic to defeat perfect calculations. It was exactly the kind of crazy solution humanity was known for. How long to make the modifications? He asked. 2 hours, Mary replied. Maybe less with Aria's help. Walker nodded. Do it. Reed, plot us a course that keeps us hidden until the last possible moment. Aria, work with Mary on that quantum message. Make it as paradoxical as you can. As his crew rushed to their tasks, Walker looked one more time at the station's image. Sometimes the most advanced technology could be defeated by the simplest ideas. The station's creators had built a perfect machine, but they hadn't counted on human creativity, on human willingness to try the impossible. One more thing, he said, making everyone pause. If this works, if we survive, no one tells the empires we solved this with what basically amounts to a quantum logic puzzle. We'll never hear the end of it. The tense mood broke as the crew laughed. Then they got to work, racing against time to save the galaxy with nothing but human ingenuity and a really clever headache. "All stations report," Captain Walker commanded. The UES Sentinel hung in space behind a large asteroid, its engines humming quietly as they prepared for their one chance to save the galaxy. "Engineering ready." Mary Stone's voice came through clear. "Quantum transmitter is modified and operating at full power. We'll only get one shot at this, Captain." "Tactical ready," Lieutenant Reed added. "Shield modifications complete, though I'm not sure how much protection they'll give us against a quantum field collapse." "ARIA," Walker asked. "Paradox message compiled and ready for transmission." The AI responded. "I have created what humans would call a quantum riddle. The message proves its own non-existence, using the station's own communication protocols." Walker took a deep breath. On his main screen, he could see the three massive Empire fleets getting closer to each other. 12 hours remained until they would be in firing range. The ancient station floated between them, still sending its corrupted messages, still pushing the galaxy toward war. "Show me the approach route, Lieutenant." Reed brought up a tactical display. "We'll come in from behind the asteroid field, using the debris as cover. The station's defensive systems are predictable. They target based on quantum probability. If we move randomly enough, their targeting computers will have trouble locking on. Like trying to shoot at a drunk driver," Mary added through the comm. "Not that I'm suggesting we've had experience with that." Walker allowed himself a small smile. His crew was making jokes. Good. Fear could freeze you, but humor meant you were thinking clearly. "All hands, battle stations," he ordered. "This is going to get rough." The Sentinel's engines roared to life. They shot out from behind the asteroid, immediately weaving in an unpredictable pattern. The ancient station's defense systems activated, crystal towers glowing with deadly energy. "First wave of quantum beams, incoming," Reed called out. "Random evasive pattern alpha." The ship twisted and turned, avoiding the deadly beams by mere meters. Where the weapons hit space, reality itself seemed to twist and bend. "Distance to optimal transmission range?" Walker asked, gripping his chair as another near miss rocked the ship. 2,000 kilometers and closing," ARIA reported. "We require 500 kilometers for maximum effect." More defensive beams lashed out. One clipped the Sentinel's shields, making the entire ship shudder. "Shield strength at 60%. Reed shouted. "We can't take many hits like that." "Mary, how's our transmitter holding up?" Walker called. "Still good, Captain." Her voice was strained but confident. "The paradox message is ready to fire. Just get us closer." The Sentinel continued its wild course, diving and weaving through the station's attacks. Each beam was perfectly aimed, but perfect aim couldn't hit a target moving by pure human instinct and randomness. 1,000 kilometers. Another hit rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across every console. Shields at 40%. 700 kilometers. The station's attacks intensified. Quantum beams filled space around them, making it look like they were flying through a web of lightning. 600 kilometers. Nearly there. Multiple direct hits. Shields failing. Walker leaned forward in his chair. "Mary, fire the transmitter. Fire it now." The Sentinel's modified quantum transmitter activated, sending out a signal that should not exist. A message that proved it couldn't have been sent, using the station's own protocols to create an unsolvable paradox. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the station's perfect quantum field began to fluctuate. Its flickering became more violent, more chaotic. "It's working," Mary shouted. "The station's trying to process the paradox. Its quantum field is destabilizing. Get us out of here. Full power to engines." Walker commanded. The Sentinel's engines screamed as they pushed to maximum thrust. Behind them, the ancient station's quantum field began to collapse, reality itself twisting around it as a million years of perfect existence confronted one simple, impossible puzzle. Energy spike. Reed yelled. Massive quantum cascade incoming. Braced for impact. Walker ordered, watching as the wave of quantum energy rushed toward them. Everyone hold on to something. The light from the station's collapse lit up space like a new sun being born. The Sentinel raced against it, engines at maximum, as the wave of quantum chaos reached for them with fingers of impossible light. The quantum energy wave caught the Sentinel before they could outrun it. The ship tumbled through space as reality itself bent around them. Warning alarms screamed from every console as systems overloaded and failed. Hull breach on Deck 3. Reed shouted over the chaos. Emergency force fields holding. Engines at critical. Mary's voice crackled through damaged speakers, diverting all power to structural integrity. Captain Walker held onto his chair as the ship spun. Through the main viewport, he watched space itself tear apart around the ancient station. The perfect quantum field that had maintained it for a million years was collapsing, but something was happening that none of them had expected. "ARA," Walker called out. "What am I looking at?" The AI's voice came through broken and distorted. "Station's quantum collapse is revealing hidden data. Information stored in quantum states, becoming visible as field destabilizes." Suddenly, the spinning stopped. The Sentinel hung in space, its systems badly damaged but still functioning. Before them, the ancient station had stopped flickering. Instead, it was projecting something into space, massive holograms visible to everyone within light years. "Message incoming," Reed reported, his voice quiet with awe. "It's broadcasting on all frequencies, to all ships. The Empire fleets are receiving it too." A figure appeared on their main screen, a being unlike any they had seen before. It looked almost crystalline, with patterns of light moving through its transparent body. When it spoke, its words were automatically translated by their computers. "If you are seeing this message, you have succeeded in disrupting our great project," the being said. "We are the architects, and we built this station to ensure the survival and evolution of all species." "How does starting wars ensure survival?" Walker asked aloud, though he knew this was just a recording. As if in answer, the figure continued. "Our studies showed that species grow strongest through conflict. Peace leads to stagnation. Only through war do civilizations advance, develop new technologies, push themselves to their limits. This station was designed to create necessary conflicts, to push species toward their full potential." The hologram shifted, showing scenes of ancient wars, civilizations rising and falling, technologies advancing through military necessity. "We seeded this galaxy with our stations before we transcended physical form," the recording continued. "Each one monitors its sector, creating conflicts when needed, ensuring species never grow too comfortable in peace." Walker looked at his tactical display. The 3 Empire fleets had stopped advancing. They were all receiving this same message, all learning how they had been manipulated not just now, but perhaps for their entire histories. However, the ancient being's message continued. "If you have managed to disrupt this station's quantum field, you have demonstrated something unexpected. You have shown advancement through cooperation and innovation rather than conflict. This presents a choice." The station's remaining systems hummed to life. New holograms appeared, showing 2 options. "The station can be restored," the being said. "The great project can continue, ensuring strong evolution through conflict." Or, a second set of data appeared. "You can use this station's quantum technology to connect civilizations instead of dividing them. All of our research, all of our technology, repurposed for cooperation rather than conflict. The choice is yours." The message ended. The station hung in space, waiting for a decision. "Sir," Reed said quietly, "the Empire fleets are hailing us. All of them." Walker stood up, straightening his uniform despite the ship's battered condition. On his screens, he could see the faces of 3 Empire leaders, the same ones who had been ready to go to war just hours ago. Now they looked shocked, angry, and something else. Hopeful. "Open a channel to all ships," Walker ordered. "I think it's time we all had a talk about the future." The station's light pulsed gently, its quantum technology waiting to either restore the old way of conflict or begin something entirely new. And humanity, represented by one damaged ship and its determined crew, would help make that choice. Mary's voice came over the comm. "Well, Captain, we wanted to stop a war. Looks like we might end up stopping all of them." 3 months after the confrontation with the ancient station, Captain James Walker stood in the newly constructed Galactic Council chamber. The massive room had been built in neutral space, its walls lined with viewports showing the stars beyond. Representatives from all 3 empires sat around a circular table, with the human delegation taking their place as honored members. The station floated outside, visible through the chamber's main window. It looked different now, no longer flickering between states, but stable and bright. Its quantum technology had been reprogrammed just as the architects had offered, turning it from an engine of war into a hub of cooperation. "The quantum communication network is now operating at full capacity," Mary Stone reported to the assembled council. She stood at a podium, looking professional despite still walking with a slight limp from the injuries she'd received during their adventure. "All member worlds can now communicate instantly, without any possibility of messages being altered or corrupted." Lieutenant Reed, sitting beside Walker, leaned over and whispered, "Much better use for million-year-old technology than starting wars, isn't it?" Walker nodded, remembering the choice they'd all made that day. After seeing how they'd been manipulated, after learning that wars had been artificially started for thousands of years, the 3 empires had chosen a different path. They'd turned their fleets around and begun talking instead of fighting. The Blue Star Emperor stood up to speak. "Thanks to the quantum network, our scientists are already sharing discoveries that would have taken centuries to develop separately. Our medical technology alone has advanced by decades in just these few months. And our trade routes are flowing more efficiently than ever," added the Crystal Collective's representative. "The station's quantum fields now protect ships from pirates and natural hazards instead of creating false conflicts." The Iron Ring's war leader, now their peace representative, laughed deeply. Who would have thought that the key to becoming stronger wasn't fighting each other, but working together? Those architects, for all their advanced technology, missed something very simple. They missed the human element. Aria's voice came through the chamber's speakers. The AI had been integrated into the council's systems, helping coordinate the vast network of cooperation that was spreading through the galaxy. They assumed conflict was the only path to advancement. They never considered that creativity and cooperation could drive innovation just as effectively. Walker stood up, looking around the chamber. Beings from dozens of worlds were here, former enemies now working together. The station that had been designed to create wars now helped maintain peace, its quantum technology serving all of galactic civilization. "The architects weren't entirely wrong," Walker said, making everyone turn to listen. "Challenge does drive growth. Competition can spark innovation. But they forgot that you don't need wars for that. You don't need to kill each other to push yourselves forward. Sometimes all you need is a common goal. And maybe a crazy human plan that just might work." Laughter filled the chamber. The story of how one human ship had defeated million-year-old technology with a simple paradox had become something of a legend. Some called it typical human insanity. Others called it brilliance. Walker just called it doing what needed to be done. As the council meeting continued, Walker walked to the window and looked out at the stars. The Sentinel was out there, repaired, and back on patrol. But it was a different kind of patrol now, not watching for threats, but helping to build something new. Other stations like this one had been found and reprogrammed, each one becoming another node in the growing network of galactic cooperation. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Mary asked, joining him at the window. "Sure is," Walker replied. "You know, I had my doubts when we were spinning through space, about to be torn apart by quantum energy. But I think we made the right choice. We definitely did, she agreed. And the best part, no one had to die to prove they were strong. No worlds had to burn to drive innovation. We just had to be clever enough to solve a problem without shooting at it. Walker smiled. The galaxy was entering a new age, and humanity had helped make it happen. Not with superior firepower, not with advanced technology, but with the things humans did best. Thinking creatively, taking crazy chances, and believing that even the impossible was worth trying. After all, that's what humanity was all about.